When you look back at your life at this point in life, you realize how much loss there has been. I've lost my parents, my grandparents, of course, jobs, marriages, loss of belongings. And that's part of the natural journey of life. But when you have a significant loss of a child, that loss is so profound. My life before Jesse was killed was so fulfilling. I had a wonderful career in tourism. I had 2 children that I adored and were doing well in their lives. I had a wonderful marriage, wonderful husband, and then everything blew up. One night in a theater in Denver, Colorado, my daughter had chosen to take a good friend who was visiting her from Texas and take him to see the Dark Knight premiere. And he came home and she didn't. And my life as I knew it, our life as we knew it, was over. When something like what happened to us happens to an individual, you are so broken and don't know where to begin to start putting those pieces back together, because it is like there's been an explosion of sorts. And so you've got a piece of you over here and a piece of you over here, and you don't know how or if it's going to come back together and what it's going to look like if it comes back together. I knew instinctively that I was going to need help. And I remember the day after Jesse was killed, my husband and I were in the kitchen, and I said, I'm going to need help. I can't navigate this alone. And as much as we depend on each other, you're not responsible for my recovery, and I'm not responsible for yours. We're gonna need help to find our way. And I was lucky enough within the first month to find a really great trauma therapist. And that conversation, I'll never forget it, because I was sitting in her office and I said, I feel like I can't get out of the theater. Even though I wasn't in the theater, I can't get my brain out of the theater. I keep seeing the bullets flying. I keep seeing my daughter struck. I keep trying to save her. I keep what if, and all the things that you do, especially as a mother, to protect your child. And I just can't get myself out of there. I think about it 24/7. And she said, do you know how to make a banana split? I said, yes. And she said, how do you make a banana split? And I said, well, you get a banana. And she goes, no. What do you do to get the banana? Well, you go to the store, you buy some bananas. Okay, now what do? You take it home, you peel the banana. And she kept leading me. And she said, are you thinking about the theater? And I said, no. And she said, you can't hold 2 thoughts at one time. And she said, so when you start thinking about the theater, I want you to take a slow, deep breath in and start making a banana split. When Jesse was killed, it changed me. everything. It changed the way I thought. It changed the way I dressed. It changed the way I cared about my physical appearance. It changed our relationship in my marriage. It changed my career path. It changes everything. You are not the same person. And trying to navigate into your new self, it's not easy. And it doesn't matter if you're 30 years old, 50 years old, it doesn't matter. You're now a new person. And adjusting your whole life to that it's a journey. At first, you're just so deep in the mire and the muck of grief that you think it's never going to change. You really believe it's never going to be better than this. And then one day you find yourself laughing. And you're like, how can I be laughing? Then you feel guilty that I'm laughing. My daughter's dead and I'm laughing. What is wrong with me? You know, you'll go someplace and see something or hear something that will remind you of them. And somehow when it starts to morph, it goes from I hear that song and I start crying to I hear that song and I go, oh, God, I miss her. And then over time, you'll hear that song and all of a sudden you're smiling that you're hearing that song because there's been enough time and distance of the trauma that the memory of the person is now joyous and bittersweet, but still joyous instead of painful. Time. It doesn't heal all wounds. It doesn't heal at all. It's just time. It's just that progression of movement.
Hello and welcome to this beginner's meditation. We're looking for a relaxing meditative state with a couple of simple techniques that anybody can do. Get into a comfortable position, sitting or laying down, and take 3 deep and strong breaths. 1 fully in, and let it go.
The mindfulness practice has really given me personally a lifeline. Being able to slow everything down, take that pause, take those breaths, meditate calmly, learning that whatever happens in life, it's the here and now that you have. You have nothing else. You don't have the past, it's gone. You don't have the future because it's tomorrow. So all you really have is now, and that's not to say that, oh, you don't make plans for tomorrow or you don't take steps for your future. Of course you do, but you don't live there. And I think for Lonnie, my husband, and myself, it's the living in the now that has become our biggest strength. To have any expectation of what you should or should not be or do is unfair. It's your journey, it's your timetable, and that timetable is going to be all over the place. And that's okay. There are still times, especially times close to the tragiversary date, that you have to just say, this is that time. This is a crappy time, and you can get through it. So that's all part of the package that goes along with it. But again, you get back to, you cannot find joy if you're stuck in that grief. So you have to balance that. And sometimes you have a little too much grief and not enough joy, and other times you have more joy and the grief subsides to the point where you go, wow, I'm doing really well. And then boom, there it is again. Surprise, surprise, surprise. So I'm very grateful for the people who did come into my life early on. I'm very grateful that my particular journey was timed in a way that I was receptive and curious to learning more, instead of, I'm not ready and I don't want to talk about that. And I knew I wanted to get better. I knew I couldn't stay that miserable for the rest of my life. I wanted to create a new life. In our society, we think of brokenness as being weak. Brokenness and weakness are two different things. And as you start putting yourself together again, you find out you're stronger than you ever thought you were. You find out that if you choose, you can be kinder than you ever were. You find that you are more compassionate than you ever were. And those are all done just by simply being aware. How do I want to be? And why do I want to be that way? And I think that's been surprising to both of us, is, we had this, we want to have these retreats for survivors of gun violence, where they can learn mindfulness and they can talk about grief and they can process that grief and they can hear about other choices and other things that are available to them that they might not be aware of. That was one thing we wanted to accomplish. We did it. We wanted to have our own nonprofit that could help survivors and build a toolkit, and we did that. And we wanted to repeal a really bad law that's on the books in Colorado, and we got that done. And now we're working on repealing the same law at a federal level. So all those things would not have happened had we not had to reconstruct our lives. When we leave this world, we will have left this world with giving back a way to move forward for other survivors. And that's the best feeling in the whole world, is knowing that other survivors will not have to go through what we've gone through. And like I said, I'd rather have my old life back any day. But I'm really happy with the life that my husband and I have created. And I wouldn't change that. If we could get here and still have Jesse and be doing the same thing we're doing, that would have been a wonderful path. But that's not one we were given. So by taking something and like a life and shattering it into itty bitty pieces, you can change it and you can create it into anything you choose. It's like being an artist or a painter. You just play with it and say, how do I want this to look? And you do it a little bit at a time. And then one day you look around and you go, wow, we did that. This poem is from Becky Hemsley, and it's entitled When I Am Gone. When I am gone, do not fear my memory. Do not be afraid to speak my name or look through old photographs. Do not be scared to play old videos so that you might hear my voice and see me laughing. Do not be wary of visiting my favorite places or eating my favorite foods or singing along to my favorite songs. I know it will hurt. Those memories will remind you that I am gone. They will stab at you like a knife in an open, gaping wound. Raw, excruciating pain. But after a while, the knife will become less sharp, the wound will become less open, and the pain will become less raw. And those memories will remind you that I was here, that I lived. Do not reduce my life to my death. Speak my name, hear my voice, sing my favorite songs, and visit my favorite places, because that is how I can stay alive a little right here with you.